Stern, ready? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christy Bell, as I said before, one of VDEM's training managers. We're pleased to welcome you all to this afternoon's webinar about VDEM's reorganization. To limit background noise, we'll be muting all participant lines during the session. If you have questions during the presentation, please do ask them. Just ask that you do so via the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. So type them in. They'll be answered when Dr. Stern breaks for questions. Ask your questions or make your comments verbally. We ask that you hold those until the end. I'll ask you to underline individually using the #6 keys, and we'll go one at a time for those types of questions. It would probably be better, given the volume of callers, if we tried to limit it to the chat feature. At the end, there will be an opportunity to provide feedback to include suggestions for topics, and we would certainly appreciate yours. As I said earlier, the session will be recorded, and a link will be provided to all registered participants to view the recorded session. And now turn it over to Dr. Stern, State Coordinator of Emergency Management.
And everybody, this is Jeff. I appreciate you taking time to be with us. We're going to walk through for about 10 minutes. Chris will bring up now our strategic roadmap for emergency management in Virginia. It's the guiding reason for the changes at VDEM. A short 5-minute video that we've put together. Our external affairs staff has done a good job of packaging a YouTube-like video that explains what the organization entails in 3 phases. We started the reorganization in July, and then open it up for questions. So we'll brief all of VDEM staff on this morning. We're going to talk to our local emergency management colleagues, both on the east-west side of the state today, and then additional stakeholders later in the week. And they'll all be recorded for future playback. Some of you have seen this strategic roadmap before. We've kind of publicly unveiled it in May at the State Homeland Security Grant stakeholders meeting, where we rely on all of you to help us determine how the priorities would be allocated this year for the State Homeland Security Grants. The result of kind of my first-year effort to listen to both internally in VDEM and externally through you and other stakeholders, how our operating environment and emergency management has evolved. And given the operating environment, how can we best align ourselves, support you in local government, and meet our mission requirements? So this is going to be a roadmap for the wealth, for use as you want, for us at the agency, for our state partners, and to get an idea for us to be able to share and articulate to our private sector partners, our volunteer sector partners, and our federal partners what we're doing. It's purposely not a thick 100-page, 5-year detailed strategic plan, because we all know that the operating environment are too dynamic, and the budget environment now sometimes too volatile for us to really be able to execute on those. And candidly, back over history, sometimes having the general guidelines of where the emerald is, where we want to be, letting everybody work from their collective positions to kind of pave the yellow brick road, I think most opportunities to be successful. So this single page, we're going to email this to everybody. Eventually it'll be on our website. And again, some of you have seen this. At the top, it starts off with our operating environment and risk scan. So it just reminds us that we are, as emergency managers, and the risk managers. We can't lie down all the risk for everything all the time. So we have to look using, so the risk formulas up there at the hazard, how it changes over time, and they do. Our vulnerability to those hazards or threats and how that changes, and vulnerabilities do change over time. And at the consequences of the disaster, and then determine how to allocate our funds and our resources. So that is a word map of the common themes and things that you all have been dealing with, that we've been dealing with for the last year or two. And obviously is subject to change over time. That kind of is a quick, certainly it's not meant to be all-encompassing, but it's kind of meant to capture some of the things that we face now that we didn't face as little as 2 years ago, like Bakken crude oil, ISIL, and the growing cybersecurity needs. Certainly, the economy plays into this, so especially for the half of the state, the loss of the Hampton Roads UASI, and the recurring flooding are challenges. Below that are the current capabilities, the left column, current capabilities of how VDEM is aligned to face the operating environment. And so what you find is, this doesn't describe everything in VDEM or emergency management, certainly. They're kind of vignettes, snippets that describe some of the core functions and how we're aligned to do it. And certainly with grant programs, as many of you know, they've been treated differently. We've had grants managed across VDEM in different divisions, as our partners have had to often talk to different people, to different funding grant sources, depending on what kind of grant. And we haven't integrated that strategy together traditionally, because we had traditionally, especially over the last 10 years, had a lot of grant money. Our deployment posture, as you know, has been very Richmond-centric, with a limited amount of regional staff that report back individually to VDEM management in Richmond. Training has been the way we train in emergency management for decades, and it's held us back as a profession. Situational awareness, we then something like the emerging hurricanes that we have some predictive capability, or weather fronts. A lot of situational awareness, really, we're just trying to track what happened. How quickly can we capture what happened? And we do a lot of analytic capability right now to, in real time, put the cascade impacts of something that's happening down without doing a heavy lift. And I'm going to guess from talking to many of you and having worked at the local level that you're strained by similar capabilities. And as many of you know and pointed out to me well over my first year here, our training and exercises and planning and resources had been in VDEM fragmented or even competitive. So, many times we would do different divisions handled their own training or exercises, and we would double or triple book some of you in the same week, intentionally, but because these things resided in different parts of VDEM and were being coordinated together, and that had happened for many years over time. The governor articulated a clear vision based on 4 points for emergency management in the Commonwealth that's guiding us. You have heard this from me in our coordinators' briefings and before. We want to have a quick and integrated response, all together, local, state, federal, private, volunteer, military. We want to make sure, given the funding environment, that what we're doing is strategic and efficient and sustainable over time. We want to build more regional capacity for disaster response operations, and then want to move past this on-the-job training and build a backbone for professional development. And I'm very happy. Very quickly, Virginia is starting to become a leader around the country. We've held 2 of the foundations of emergency management courses that are open for all of you and your staff. All the staff will go through this year. We just last week, the Emergency Management Institute will be delivering in November the beginning of the advanced training program, the Advanced Academy, which will be the first time it's held outside of the Emergency Management Institute in the country, and we're going to host that here in Richmond starting this fall, and it'll run through 4 different sessions into next year. And working very closely with the universities in the state, we wanted to build pathways for professional development for our staff. Articulated some goals for VDEM for 2015, so very specifically, and the video will articulate, we have a 3-phased reorganization that is underway. We are reorganizing how we staff the EOC, the Virginia EOC. So we are evolving from the old term, the Virginia Emergency Response Team, to what we're calling the Virginia Emergency Support Team, to better reflect what we do in support of you, the responders in the field, the supporters at the EOC, with our emergency support functions partners. And every single VDEM employee this month has been going through a baseline EOC education curriculum for one week of refresher, or in some cases new to them training We previously had a smaller staff of VDEM employees, about a third of the agency, that regularly operate in the OC, and now everybody will be assigned to one of the rostered teams so that we can sustain that staffing for weeks or months if needed, and we plug in partners like yourselves into EOC operations. July 1st, we reorganized the headquarters. More on that to follow, but basically we have divided up into two different bureaus, and all the questions at the end after the video explains very well what we've done. And we're in the process now of looking at where we can locate regional offices in your regions, similar we have up in Region 7. Statewide, we've told over to the stakeholder partners how the grants for state Homeland are being distributed. We're trying to, again, look strategically at how to integrate all these funding sources, and we're going to start counting. We're in the process of counting the response assets, and we've got new programs through our logistics section with the Department of Fire Programs to do mutual aid, and another one is through the National Emergency Managers, and you all will be key partners in helping us count what are the response assets. And long-term, for emergency management, we need to find other non-grant funding sources. We identified that the funds that come to VDEM or flow through us to you are 83% grant funds. And so given the environment changes, the political environment especially, we're 5 or 6 weeks away from a potential congressional sequester. It's very likely that they will have continuing resolutions, but if that impacts the FEMA or Department of Homeland Security grant fund distribution, that impacts us and you in real time. We want to make sure these programs are sustainable. You have partnered with us on a lot of work going forward with that, and then we really define what are the baseline capabilities we need to build and sustain across the swath of the different operational response elements that are listed there. So with that now, I'm going to roll it over to Christy. She's going to play. Again, this video runs about 5 minutes. It describes the reorg, and then we'll take questions. And I thank you again for your time.
Hello, Dr. Jeff Stern, State Coordinator at the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. In the midst of a major reorganization, and to make the department more effective and responsive to the threats and hazards we face today. This explains some of our most significant changes. I hope you'll find it helpful.
Virginia must be prepared for a wide range of challenges in today's dynamic risk environment. To put a more resilient Commonwealth, Governor McAuliffe has laid out a vision for emergency management that includes enhancing each region's capacity to respond to disaster, more professional development opportunities for Virginia's emergency coordinators, a quick and integrated response from our public agencies and community partners, building preparedness programs that are strategic and sustainable over time. The purpose of Restructuring Bdm is to realize this vision of strengthening the Commonwealth's ability to prepare, mitigate, respond, and recover from disasters we face together. VDEM organization consists of 3 phases. First, operating the approach that every employee is an all-hazard emergency management professional. The Virginia Emergency Response Team in the state's Emergency Operations Center is reorganized as the Virginia Emergency Support Team, or VEST, and all VDEM staff will be trained and assigned to one of 3 VEST teams. All agency partners from the various emergency support functions, they will train and exercise together on a weekly basis and work in the Virginia Emergency Operations Center during disasters, assisting around-the-clock operations. Phase of the reorganization took place July 1st and consisted of a comprehensive reorganization of the headquarters organizational structure to a previously disparate programs. In 12 divisions reporting to the State Coordinator's Office, VDEM is now configured into 2 distinct bureaus, a Disaster Services Bureau and a Mission Support Bureau. The Division for Local Support Services, Preparedness, Technological Hazards, and Operations have been disbanded, and their programs reassigned. In the organization, the Disaster Services Bureau will oversee 2 geographic divisions. Regional Support East will consist of VDEM Regions 1, 5, and 7, and Regional Support West will consist of VDEM Regions 2, 3, 4, and 6. Each region will be led by a Chief Regional Coordinator, and the former local support service staff members have been renamed as Disaster Response and Recovery Officers. The Disaster Support Services Bureau will also have a Response Programs Division to coordinate special operations such as hazmat, search and rescue, technical rescue, incident management teams, the radio systems, and logistics. All across the agency has been integrated into a single planning division, which will conduct strategic planning and integrate operational planning and daily situation awareness through the VDEM Watch Center and intelligence analysis from the Virginia Fusion Center. The Mission Support Bureau, led by a new career deputy coordinator, will administer human resources, information technology, recovery and mitigation, a chief financial officer, and the training, education, and exercises divisions. To expand and promote professional development, VDEM will instill a culture of continuous education, provide an ongoing learning track for our emergency management professionals. Under the previous structure, different divisions provided training and conducted exercises. Individual division training and exercise activities will now be consolidated within and supported by the new Training, Education, and Exercise Division. The continuing reduction of federal grants, we must maximize the use of money Virginia receives. VDEM is consolidating its grant management activities in the new Finance and Grants Division, led by a newly created Chief Financial Officer. In the third phase of the reorganization, we will establish regional offices across the Commonwealth based on the successful model instituted in Region 7 several years ago. Over the next year, VDEM will initiate the process to double the number of staff assigned to regional operations, and every region will have, as a minimum, a Chief Regional Coordinator, a Disaster Response and Recovery Officer, a HAD Officer, and a Regional All Hazards Planner, working as an integrated team to support our local governments alongside other state agencies and our private sector and voluntary agencies active in disaster partners. The transformation underway at VDEM reflects our commitment to the people of Virginia to improve capability to quickly and effectively respond to and recover from the many threats and hazards we face.
VDEM is changing to meet the current and emerging risks facing Virginia, and we continue to stand ready to help you prepare, mitigate, respond, and recover. Remember, a ready Virginia is a resilient Virginia.
Thanks, Steve. Slide that Christy just brought up now is a kind of an overview of the structure that we put in place July 1st, and I expect that to get all T's crossed and the I's dotted and reorganization operating at its maximum effectiveness is going to take 12 to 18 months in partnership with many of you. So I want to open it up now for questions. I'm sure it's a lot. I know that many of you have asked us, well, what's happening? It's always a busy time, but busy summer, so we wanted to thought this webinar format would be the best way to introduce the overall concept of the reorganization to you all. We'll stand ready for your questions at this time. Christy, do you want to take over and explain how we'll do the Q&A?
Yeah, I think due to the large number of callers, it would probably work best if you all could just chat your questions. Just type them into the chat window. Make sure you select the Everyone option in the Send to blank. Type in your question and hit Send.
Certainly anybody that's dialed in that is not on the computer on the webinar, you're welcome to voice a question. Christy will explain how to do that as well.
If you would like to make a comment or ask a question verbally, you can hit #6 and that will unmute your line. Looks like we got our first questions down in the chat box. Where are the regional offices going to be located?
Kenny, for that, we're in the process right now of identifying where those offices will be. We hope to have them identified by the end of the year. So We have mapped out state offices with state public safety agencies, National Guard, state police, fire programs, Department of Transportation, and others. We've also had offers from several of the local governments, and we'll make a determination on where to locate those. We want to do that in as cost-neutral a fashion as possible, and so we'll give more insight into that. There are a couple of the regions, obviously, that span the breadth of the state, and so we are even entertaining having a couple of areas where we may have some sub-regional offices. But we're still working on it and hope by the end of this year, as the third phase of the reorg, to have those specific spaces identified.
We have another question from Anna McLean, Henrico County. Can you please explain the new process for the Dominion Power pass-through money that has supported localities in the EPZs for Surrey and North Savannah?
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great question. We actually are pulling all the stakeholders together in the next few weeks that have been getting that money. Again, the initiative that we need to be both strategic and sustainable with all these funds. We're in the process now of understanding how historically we've distributed those funds. We're working with Dominion Power to see if we can justify and articulate a need for additional funds. And similar to what we did with the State Homeland Security Grant Program, we want to put all the stakeholders together to make sure that there's some strategy behind how that money is getting distributed, that we can show to Dominion the positive return on their investment, and even potentially make the case to see if they can increase some of their investment. So more to come for the jurisdictions that are either in the Surrey or North Anna 10 or 50 mile zones. Excuse me.
From Fairfax County, Dave McKernan. Situational awareness is always an issue. Will the regional offices include some type of watch program?
Dave, I don't think we've planned that, although I'm open to ideas. We will continue to maintain the 24-hour watch at the state warning point at the Virginia EOC, and we hope that they will be providing the support to the regional offices from a regional perspective that way. Regional office staff should be engaging with whomever maintains their watch and warning on a 24-hour basis. So in your case, whether it be through the NVRC, your own watch, the PSEPs, etc. But we don't see establishing another layer of watch beyond the 24/7 warning point. What we're trying to do is get all our both the watch and our what we get out of the Virginia Fusion Center, and then stuff out in the field integrated together so that the alert notifications can be more quickly linked to operational planning, analysis, and then if we need to stand up the EOC or provide support to do that. So, and we do also hope to, we're doing an RFP now, we hope to leverage some software and technology solutions to further mine and more actively monitor what's going on in the state we have in the past. So part of the big cultural shift from a watch and warning perspective that we've discussed here is to go from passively waiting for you all to cost with your own need, and then spinning up to more actively monitoring many different things around the state, being aware of what's going on so that we can be in a much faster position to support you if needed. I'll leave it at that, and we can follow up, Dave, if you do have ideas on that later.
Okay. Another one is, how will VDEM support localities during the next 12 months with limited staff for projects that have been in the works?
That's Anthony. I think VDEM continue to do everything that we've been doing, and we're in the process of ramping up our additional staff. At the tail end of this reorganization over the next 12 months, you will see our staff closer to you in the regions. And so, especially for Region 1, where we have one acting chief regional coordinator now, we need to build that entire staff up. We've got a couple of the regions where we are going to need to essentially build either through lateral transfer, promotion, and internally or external recruitment, those entire regional office staff and then connect them. There are specific projects that are still in the works. Those projects will go forward as they have in the past. For example, I know we've got the UCI bike race. You'll have a full kind of folks to support as part of the Unified Command, and then we will be staffing the Virginia EOC during the dates concurrently when the bike race and the papal visit to the National Capital Region is ongoing on the 22nd to the 24th of September. So the grant staff will continue to support you with the grants work. Over this 12 to 18 months, what we hope to do is get to the point where the regional staff has a comprehensive view of everything that's going on in the agency and can answer 90% of your inquiries at that regional level without you having to reach back to a different program office in Richmond. So that's the intent, to put the agency closer to you with all the resources to support you at the region. Chief Deputy Curtis Brown has reminded me that we're just in the process this week, Anthony, for you specifically, the All Hazards Regional Planner for Region 1 should be posted online. And for all you partners, we are recruiting. So as you have folks that are looking for potential opportunities, please have them keep an eye on our website, the state website, or contact me.
So from Anthony, is the VEST managing the EOC on a daily basis?
So Virginia has always prided itself that our EOC is always open. And we've always said that when we activate, we go into an augmented status. We have changed the status a little bit to align with the other states in FEMA Region 3. But basically, the VEST is the staffing function for the EOC. It will be located in our Training and Exercise Division. The staff that will maintain the operational readiness of the EOC is across a few different parts of the agency. So some of that is communications readiness that resides in our IT. Some is just the facility readiness, and that is in our logistics section and response programs. And then I foresee a enhanced role for some of our watch staff as we further integrate our planning division together. The new planning division integrates our old strategic planning that was done in preparedness, the state emergency operations plans, with some of the operational planning that existed in our old operations division that normally oversees EOC, the watch center and the fusion center. And so it'll ultimately, and we've actually relocated the plan section staff to the EOC. And ultimately, the readiness from both a planning, testing, and let's get ready to the alert and notification that we need to do some operational planning and stand up the EOC will become a function of the staff in that planning director with the support of the other technical pieces that are there. So again, the Training and Exercise Division providing the training and staffing of all the VEST, and then the response programs providing the coordination. And ultimately, the EOC readiness falls under Brett Burdick, who is the state coordinator under the newly formed Disaster Services Bureau. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, McCrae, when you mention closeness of staff, et cetera, are you anticipating the need for liaison space in the local EOCs? Or will the process of outreach as needed still be effective in the initial 12 to 24-hour post-incident period as we do now? Will your staff come to our scenes, or will they be effectively reachable from the EOC to the VEOC?
That's a great question, and it's a complicated one because it's very incident-specific. My ultimate goal is that for a large-scale statewide incident, say a hurricane, that be able to provide liaisons in every single local EOC within a reasonable amount of time, a couple of days, maybe a day. That's going to take an effort over a couple of years to work with the state agencies because of the size of VDEM staffing, so that we can have folks who are partner with us but can represent EOC. Ultimately, also, we'd like to get to the point where in a large incident, the regional office can function somewhat at a regional MAC or regional coordination center to bring better span of control for a large disaster to the state EOC. Right now, the span of control is as many jurisdictions as are active, up to 325 or 109 of you at local emergency management coordinators to one. That's kind of a planned failure past a certain breaking point, and I don't know what that is. So using standard incident management principles, standard span of control principles, we're going to try and put some structures in place that break that span of control down geographically. But again, it's incident specific, so there are times where the regional staff I would expect to be there, have an incident, and support you and support your incident commanders directly if it's a kind of a localized incident in a certain geographic proximity. If EOC is up and running, I would expect our staff to support you if you need it there. And then I would foresee us having certainly liaisons available. And even, there may be cases where there's a local liaison is in the state EOC, and we establish this footprint. So I'm sorry that's more about answer or multiple answer than you want. But the goal for us is to be there in real time with you in multiple ways and provide any of that support that you need at your local incident commanders need to face whatever kind of incident you're facing.
Okay, I don't have more questions via the chat window right this second. I'd like to open it up for verbal comments and questions. If you have a verbal comment or question, please press #6 and unmute your line and go ahead and ask that.
All right, question from Anthony. I see a follow-up. Can you get a little closer to the screen?
Anthony says, just to be clear, if I have an incident in Richmond today, I should contact Brett Burdick.
I apologize if that's the impression I left at all for this. Brett is responsible for all the disaster services in the state EOC planning. Nothing changed as far as how to contact for help, and you can do it through multiple fronts. Having an emergency, we still have the center 24/7, got both the 800 number as well as the local number or the email at veoc@vdem.virginia.gov. We have web EOC, so as you initiate your processes, you can. And then 411 for just other VDEM issues, what we'll transition to over time is Eileen Tarr is currently the Region 1 Acting Chief Regional Coordinator. So she will serve in a multi-hatted role, but basically is the evolutionary position that Gene Wills had been in. So for day-to-day stuff, you should definitely have her and your Rolodex, Anthony, and she should have you. And then by the end of the year, we will have a process to determine who will be the permanent chief regional coordinators for the agency into early 2016. So that is helpful. Nothing has changed with how, on an emergency, you can reach out to VDEM through multiple channels, but ultimately it's getting information into the watch center, the state warning point, so that we can initiate our alert notification response protocols. Hope question.
Okay, is there that would like to make a comment or ask a question verbally? We've got a question from Pat in the chat, but I'm going to give it a minute in case someone wants to mute their line and ask a question verbally. It's #6 to unmute your line. Body. So there's a question from Patrick Collins. Your line unmute. Not. Okay, from Patrick Collins, can you provide a staffing chart populated with names and contact info?
We should be able to do that for you. It'll take a couple weeks to get together. I apologize. We've been in the process of a lot of these details in place. So we will do that. Anytime I thank you and all the others for the flexibility as the names Some of the locations of the existing programs change administratively within. Also, for your awareness, till the end of the year, we have been rotating division managers through the various different divisions in 2-month increments. I expect that to end at the end of the year. But so many of you, as you're aware, will have different managers leading some of the programs. But again, we are going to be through this evolution where the kind of first line contact for routine day-to-day stuff with VDEM will be through the regional offices, and so we want to support them as first points of contact. So, and we can get out the rotation list there, but point of contact, Pat, for you should be Virgil, and then we'll get those lists out to everybody so they can have them and you can reach out as needed. Yeah.
Any other? Couple minutes here. Sound unmuted?
Let's see if anybody else has anything else to add. Okay, I think we're good. I want to thank all of you for your participation in helping us with this structure, this realignment. I think it's served the needs of the state and you all much more effectively as we get it in place. I think you find that having kind of an office with a broader understanding of one-stop shopping hopefully will help tremendously in your interaction with the agency. I know we'll hear from you via phone, email, or in person with issues as they come up, and it will. And this real thing on the hazard radar is Tropical Storm Erica, which looks like on skirts is targeting the southeastern U.S. And obviously in a couple of weeks we've got the CI World Bike Championships and then the Papal Visit. So a lot of interaction with all of us together. I thank you again for what you're doing. Look forward to seeing you either in your office or on the road. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. And last administrative note, there is a participant feedback survey up on your screen now. If you would, just please take a minute and fill that out for us so we can take your feedback and use it to make future programs better. Thank you.